Russ, we appreciate everything you're doing and how you're educating everybody. But so thank you very much. Okay, we're going to transition into my next guest, my man, Chris Trapper, my Boston guy, singer, songwriter, musician. I mean, gone all day. He's the man. And he was at my Shark Tank event playing live music for us. Does it get any better than that?
I don't think so. I think that's the highest level that you could possibly ever achieve. That was a very cool night. I have to say, like that, there was definitely magic in that room.
I'll tell you, we enjoyed having him. I mean, okay, all kidding aside, I mean, Chris is a songwriter for some pretty big movies. Which, by the way, August Rush, because of our relationship, now I had to go watch it again. I mean, I'm telling you, I forgot how good of a movie that was. Seriously. Chris has got a hit in that movie. He's got a hit in all kinds of sitcoms. Something about Mary. And I mean, Chris, I'm not going to talk for Chris. I'm going to let Chris tell the story, but.
Oh, go ahead. Keep doing it.
I mean, he's got a really cool gig. He writes with Rob Thomas of Matchbox 20. So, I mean, like, okay, I kid about Shark Tank thing. That was a big event for me with Chris. Chris has been on a whole nother platform than me. But yeah, Chris, so talk about that a little bit. You know, we talk about this is an National Inventors Day, right? And when I think of music and songwriting, man, I mean, writing in general takes a special skill. But then to write, I mean, I told you I want to come back someday. I want to be a singer. I know Brandy's listening. I want to be a songwriter and singer. I've been wanting to do this my whole life. But if you ever heard me sing, you would say, stop. So, so tell me about that, because that's a passion of mine. I would love to be able to do what you do, because it's such a cool thing to be able to express your way yourself that way.
You just keep in mind, singing is prolonged talking. So if you say a word, but just say it longer, that's
I've tried that. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work for you?
It doesn't work. Just ask Brandy. It doesn't work.
Well, maybe she's extra picky. You never know.
Yeah.
But I started writing songs when I was 13 years old. And I basically had the same process since then, where back then I'd sit in my bedroom, you sit on my bed, write a song. And then, I mostly used it as an outlet for whatever I happened to be going through at the time. Usually it was hard times back then. So to see that same process, to hear your song in Something About Mary, which was my first kind of big film that I had a song in, that was almost like miraculous to me. It just seemed like that was not possible, because my process hadn't really changed, because I was still writing songs just from my bedroom. And I think what it was that at some point I had to learn to monetize this kind of craft that I developed over the years. And to me, it's similar to trying to sell a painting or a poem. It's very audacious, and it doesn't seem like it'd be very possible, especially when I'm not getting that much corporate support. Like I never got major radio play in every city in the country. I would get like little pockets here and there, and I still do. But you're just trying to find a way to monetize. And so I started out with a rock band that I toured with for 10 years called the Push Stars. And that's where I first met Rob Thomas. We opened for Matchbox 20 for one tour back in like 2004 to 2005. And so with that band, we had started out with no real business plan, no anything. We were just three guys having fun. And then we said, let's give it a go, see if we can try and have some success in the music business. And we literally signed a record deal 6 months later. Wow. And we had no business plan. We had no business acumen. It's like everything we did was completely wrong, where we would, I literally signed my first management contract in the back of a car outside of a gig, which every music business handbook says not to do that. That's the one thing.
I bet you were pretty excited about signing that first one.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I mean, everything was exciting at that point in time. Just people being interested. I can remember the first time anybody showed up at a gig of mine that was not my friend. Like there was a stranger there who didn't know where I lived, didn't know me, and that was an amazing feeling. But the business plan, for me, you kind of came from trial and error, where we would travel 10 hours for one show back then. And so whenever I talk to young artists nowadays, I'll say, you might want to have a little business plan before you go into it. You don't have to drive 10 hours for one gig. Or if you do, have a gig 6 hours away, then a gig 2 hours away, and kind of spread it. Just little things like that seem super simple. But when you're so eager to get something accomplished, you really don't think that that all the time. Especially if you're artistic and you're thinking more about the songs and their meanings and that kind of stuff. So I don't even know if I answered your initial question.
Here's something I think of. So what is it like to, I have so many thoughts and I can relate to music, right? That's how, like for me, emotionally, how I can engage myself. I can bring memories to songs, right? I mean, a lot of people have that. And I always felt like some of your songs, Rob Thomas's songs, I can relate to those. So how is it like you sitting, 6 months ago down writing this song? You had this experience, you're writing your song, then you're putting some notes to it. And then, a year later now you're playing that song in front of this massive crowd. I always thought, what is that like? It's got to be an unbelievable feeling that people are connecting with your emotions when you wrote that song.
Well, for me as a solo artist, when I headline, it's not a massive crowd. I can't lie about that. I mean, that's something. But when I was opening for Rob in the summer where I met you, mm-hmm. Those could be very massive crowds, yeah. and that's surreal. It's like, remember we played Mohegan Sun Casino Arena in Connecticut, and I remember at one point just walking out on stage. I opened those shows solo, so it's just me and one guitar,
right?
And it's like, holy shit! Like, it was very intimidating. But then what I would do was just focus on the content, like focus that I'd written a song that maybe somebody could benefit from, somebody could use in the crowd. Then all those nerves go away, and it just becomes a vehicle to convey some kind of message, and so the feeling is, for me, it's kind of, I don't focus on the elation of it necessarily in that moment. I focus more about maybe I could bring like some joy to some people, and maybe I could connect on some different level, because we're all looking for a connection ultimately. And so I think that's what a live concert can bring. It can make you feel less alone. It can make you feel just a part of something greater than yourself.
Yeah, I remember that Atlanta, when we first met in Atlanta, how hot and muggy and humid it was, and the stadium was down like below ground level, so it was even worse. I'm like, how are these guys even playing tonight? I'm sitting here having a cold beer and literally sweating it out as fast as I could drink it. You guys were up there the whole night.
So that tour kicked off in Florida in the summertime.
Yeah,
which was every night it was like 95 degrees and super humid. And like you, I tend to wear a lot of sport coats on stage, which I was very adamant about maintaining my image. You don't have to keep the sport coats, but the sport coats would be drenched every single night. And some people would ask for hugs, and I'd be like, I don't know if you necessarily want that, but I'm willing to do it.
It's funny you bring that up, because we were in Mohegan, and that's the night Rob, I had VIP passes, so I was in this little club and talking to his promoter and his publicist, and just saying, how can I get to meet Rob tonight? And he's like, oh, come on, man, everyone wants to meet him. I said, I don't really care about anybody else. How do I get to meet him? So long story short, we get out on the floor, and Rob's playing, and Brian has got this bright orange blouse on, and we're coming back from grabbing a beer. We go to sit down. We're in the first section, so there's a nice aisleway. Rob's singing a song that I used to play to my kids, Tyler, my youngest, in football. And he's singing it, and he's walking towards us. Security surrounds us, spotlights on us, comes over, high fives me, gives me a hug, and sings the whole song to Brandy. And he was drenched. I remember him being like soaking wet, drenched. I'm like, Brandy, like he said, oh my God, it was perfect.
Yeah, she loves every second of it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a pretty cool moment that he did that, and it's something that'll stay with us forever. It was just,
Yeah.
the whole thing was cool. And it's kind of like you being at our Shark Tank event. The whole thing is just you're good people and really cool. And people don't sometimes get intimidated by that, right? You guys are up on this big stage. You're just like me. We're just like each other, except you can sing, you can write songs, and you've got incredible musical talents that I don't. It's that simple.
Yeah. I was just thinking one of the things where I think Rob Thomas is underrated is as a live performer, because he's known as the guy you hear in the grocery store because he's had so many hit songs, but his live concerts, that's what I think solidifies his audience, because he picks those special moments. It makes every concert like he really gives 100%.
Yeah.
Like he's drenched it. Like you used to remember, even back when we opened for Matchbox, I just remember watching like the veins in his neck bulge when he sang. Like he really, really felt every single note. And it's like, and he comes from a pretty rough upbringing.
Right.
And he's a wealthy dude now, but he still sings like he's that same kid who comes from a really rough, you know what I mean? But he still sings with every ounce of passion. But he never forgot that.
No.
So I think he treats his audience really in a great way. He treats his crew amazingly well, like family. So I think that he's definitely special in that respect.
Yeah, Jim is photographer. Jim well. He always talks about
the best hair in the business.
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And he talks about how good he is to him all the time. Like, he was in the Macy's Day Parade. He made sure Jim was there taking photos. He was doing shoots for his cover album. I mean, so Jim always really feels connected. Like I know you do. You literally sat down and wrote songs with him, right? So there's that connection, and I think he's that. You're right. He's that kind of guy. Obviously, you know him really well, but he comes across to his audience as just a real person that's caring. And that night, even with Brandy, like he didn't have to do that. He made that extra special, and it's something she'll never forget. Obviously, I'll never forget it either. So it's pretty cool. And then listening to you, how you write songs with him, and just last Christmas album, it's all pretty cool stuff.
Yeah. I mean, he's a guy who could walk on stage and just do his hits in a half-hearted way. He could do 12 songs, all hits, and then walk off stage. And people would still, but he sings his shows like he's still trying to make it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We think there's a lesson there for everybody in all businesses.
Right. So let's talk about the pandemic, right? There's still some of that issues because Matchbox just canceled their new tour, right? They put it out to the following year. How did you handle that? I mean, I saw you like smaller crowds, probably more on live Facebook stuff, which I love, by the way. Absolutely love. You got one coming up this Saturday, I think.
Saturday night. Yep.
Yeah, we'll be on that. But I mean, talk about that a little bit. That had to be a big pivot for you.
Sure. Well, I just actually had to postpone another 6-week tour, and it's the third year in a row. It's an artist named Alan Doyle and I we're going to go on tour. He's from Canada. He had a band, Great Big Sea, and they're huge in Canada. He does really well here, and but we canceled for the third year in a row our tour because of COVID. So it's funny, like it's postponed till next year. The same exact date, same city, same artists are postponed for the third year back to back. So at this point, it's almost like a joke. It's like, we'll see you next year, in the fourth year. So when the pandemic first happened, I was actually, semi-happy, not happy about it, but just happy to spend some time in the home that I pay for and get to know my children, and that kind of stuff, because I've been touring for 20 years.
Right.
And so then after I was home for a couple months, I was like, I got to get the hell out of here. This is way too much.
That's what Tom Brady is going to be saying shortly.
Oh yeah. Picked up, of course. So I started doing live stream concerts, which was, I had to really develop a new art form for me because I'd never done that. Most artists hadn't done that. So I'd already had a few friends recommended it to me. This artist named Amy Gerhardt, who's a great singer songwriter. She was telling me about live streams long before the pandemic, and she said, "Chris, don't charge people. Just ask for tips, and you'll find that the people are super generous because the places that you don't tour or can't tour, they'll appreciate it because I have fans maybe in Ogden, Utah, but I don't get there to tour very often. So I started doing live streams, and that worked out great. And at first, the tipping was very good, and I was like, maybe I'll never have to tour again. And then, gradually each week, every artist that you have talked to that did them, you said the same thing. Where at the start of the pandemic, it was like 2 weeks to stop the spread, so people were like, "I'll tip a lot."
Right.
Then after the first 9 months, they're like, "Oh, yeah, I'll give them $1. That's cool." So then I started offering backyard shows, like just showing up in people's backyards, which was a super cool way to get out and see people in what was thought to be a safe thing at that time. So, but it was much less glamorous than my usual gig, but being on stage. It'd be like, "Chris, go set up next to the shed. You see the shed there, and you want to watch the extension cord there because it's been raining for the past few days. So you don't want to step on that. You don't want to avoid the dog shit as well. We didn't have time to clean it up, but that's your stage right there by the shed." And so it's much less glamorous, but it was just a great way to stay out there and make a little money and see people and connect when every venue was closed. And I did it, just a few weeks ago. Went to Florida and did more shows. More shows
on the beach, right? You're on the beach.
Yeah, yeah.
Look pretty fancy.
Yeah, for a couple of them, yeah, very nice. But I've done house concerts for all different types of homes, different levels of scenery in the backdrop and stuff. It could be something I don't care. I just like to see the people and sing for people. That's in my blood. I've been doing it for such a long time that feels really natural to me to just be singing for people. It could be a couple people, it could be a couple thousand. It doesn't matter. You still feels the same.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
felt like it was, even for our event, right? It was intimate. Like, there's a chance not just to play songs, but to hang out and talk about other things besides music. And so I would imagine doing it in someone's backyard. How cool is that? That's got to be cool for somebody to say, "I got Chris Trapper in my backyard."
Yeah. You may think half the reason why people book those things is just to get to connect with somebody else and an artist. I think it's really good. Like it's good. So honestly, through the pandemic, I was feeling good about everything. I was feeling like everything was good. I got to co-write with a few different people, and I released 2 albums during the pandemic. Two albums, 2 videos. So I was productive. It wasn't until this last tour that just canceled that I was like, "Oh, come on, man! This is getting old."
I think you and everybody else, because I thought somebody was, when they posted it, they were kidding. Like, you got to be kidding, right? Because this is the one I was going to was in Clearwater. I'm like, you can't be you're postponing it, really?
Yeah. I mean, I think what artists are dealing with now is that every state is very, very different. So I got to experience that firsthand, right? You read at the start, like when I went to Florida, they went directly from California to Florida for private shows in 2020 over the summer. And they were completely like the opposite. California was completely locked down in such an eerie way. It was weird. No traffic in Los Angeles. That felt very apocalyptic. Florida was like business as usual, was wide open. And so I think that's something artists have had to navigate a little bit. You say, I can go here and it's totally cool, but then I'm going to go someplace else. And I can't walk backstage. I can't have people backstage. So there's all those different protocols.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're coming in.
Yeah.
You're coming out of it now. Yeah.
I sure hope so.
How have you been, Matt?
What's that?
how have you been doing? How was your pandemic?
Yeah, good. I feel like I got, even Brandy is like she works for one of the largest telecommunication companies in the world, Windstream, and hasn't been in the office in 2 years. So they've really gone like this. So that's what I'm saying. This whole pandemic has helped in so many ways, and not in a good way, but like things like Zoom, right? Like the things we're doing now that, or even people I've met or meetings we've had, I probably would have to do it in person, and now I've been able to avoid all that travel. I mean, there's some good to it, but then I like being around people and being at shows and doing different things. So I think from that standpoint, it's helped certainly the process and streamline it a little bit more. So from that side, it's good. But man, the traveling side and I'm wearing masks all the time. I don't know. It's I think everybody's on that same feeling. It's getting it's overkill now. It's like, and now you're canceling concerts, which everyone loves to go to and be outside. Yeah. From that standpoint, it's awful.
Yeah.
So I thought of this, right? I'm thinking like, okay, you got a pandemic. You probably are writing a ton of songs. I see you have. You got some new albums. What was it like? What was it like for you to get your first check? Think about that now. I think about this. Like you wrote a song, the movie picked it up. I know you always talk about you weren't ready for the business side when it first happened. And the second time you said, okay, I'm going to get paid forever. Anytime they play this song, I'm getting paid. Talk about that a little bit, because that's like with inventors too, right? They make mistakes up front. They'll never make those same mistakes again. It happens everywhere. In business, it happens all the time.
Yeah, that's a great question, because it's funny because I still get the same feeling every time I get paid for singing anywhere, anytime. It's like, to me, it feels unbelievable. It's like I just got paid to sing. That's how cool is that? But when I get checks for royalties for films and TV shows or radio play, like Sirius Radio pays really well, and to me that is like I always have my kids walk over and I'm like, kids, come here, look at this check. It sounds weird. It's not like,
no, I know
I'm not materialistic, but I say this for me was a dream. It was a dream for me to sing for people, to write songs. So this money is from music. So you can do whatever you want with your life if you work hard and you're smart. That's why I show it to them, because I don't want them to, because the town we live in outside of Boston is pretty affluent, and it's a lot of people here have real serious gigs and real serious jobs. I would definitely be the rare bird around here as far as music. If I were in Nashville, I'd be one of a dime a dozen. But here so I worry about my kids feeling pressure that they have to do a certain thing or take a certain route. So I show them my checks just to say, like, look, you can do whatever you want. Just work hard, be smart, and be good to people. Ultimately, I think that counts too, because when I was doing backyard shows the first year, I got booked back the second year. And I think it's because I genuinely love people. I love to hear people's stories and love to get to know them. I think there's always something you can learn from people. But for me, one thing I found I was doing once I had kids, I was like, I'm going to go on tour and I'm going to meet 3,000 parents in 1 year after shows and meet and greets and stuff like that. So why not pick their brains on what worked for them as parents, like what they did, how they dealt with situations. So I found I could bring great advice home about that. But anyway, back to your question, like I was worried if a bunch of years ago, I don't have a retirement plan. I have one now, but it could definitely always be better. But then I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to get paid for all these movies that are still airing on whatever, HBO, Comedy Central, Showtime, but that's going to keep paying for as long as they play those movies. And I was fortunate to have songs in a few movies that still play all the time across the whole globe. So So yeah, I think that's a long
pretty cool.
answer to your short question.
No, but no, I think it's great because I think, like you said, showing your kids. I try to do that as well. Like I had my kids work with me at one point.
That's awesome.
They talk about what an experience that was because I wasn't easy on them. I coached them as kids, right? I never, you know how it is. You're never easier on your own kids, but I wanted to show them like that every little step you make is a cost, especially when you're in manufacturing and there's a process that you have to follow. When you're wasting time and process, it's money in the end. And I said, you're still going to get paid. But what if I take that time that you wasted and not pay you? And I remember Tyler, my youngest, you're kidding, right? I go, no, I'm not kidding because we're not getting paid for you to walk across a plant to get a box. It should be at the site of the process. So I think that's for you to do the same thing. It's a good life lesson. I can tell you this, Chris, like my family loves you. We love your music now. And you are like what we always hope someone like you would be, a straight up good dude. I mean, you're from Boston. We have that going, but I just think in general, time I actually do events for us, you're always happy to do it. You know, your agent, Nick, great guy. You got yourself really set up nice. And I appreciate you, man. Believe me.
Yeah.
Likewise, man. Great to see you. And great to see that jacket too. I love it. I want to borrow it. I
got the crown for you too when you're ready.
Okay, cool.
Hey,
I'm into it.
Chris, one quick question for you, man. And man,
Sure.
I appreciate you jumping on here. I think it's awesome to have you up here. I wish we had more time, and we will, because I would love to hear about how technology has changed from when you first started doing those things. And I just love seeing the transition world, how people like yourself use technology to make better and better music. But one quick question for you. Yeah. And I know you've been doing this a long time. What was the name of like your first band?
My first band's name was Awaken Dreaming.
I love it.
Yep.
I love it. And that was like what, in the 80s?
That was in the late 80s, early 90s. So yeah.
It's amazing.
And technology, that discussion could be hours long, because my first album came out on cassette.
Yeah.
But
cassette.
In my youth's defense,
we're dating ourselves now.
Cassette, but it was the last year that the tapes were still made. So my label was like, you know what? I think we should make cassettes just in case. So I have 2,000 cassettes down my basement. If anyone's interested, they're for sale.
I got my 8-track player if you have any.
Nice.
Kids are going, cassettes? What's that?
Yeah, what's that? Yeah.
I love it, man.
All right, man. Chris, again, really appreciate you, man. Thank you. And I can't wait to see you live again. I'm just, like me and Brandon keep saying, we're going to travel to go to your events. We got to see.
Awesome,
hopefully that kicks off soon.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great to see you guys.
Thank you, man. Thanks. Chris Trapper.
We'll talk soon.
All right.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Until then.
All right.
Have a good day today, you guys.
You too. Have a good weekend. All
Man,
right. So we're going to transition right into Nisha Swanee, who's